everybody. We have a game with the white pieces against Hussein, rated 1189. We're going to develop the knight and attack his pawn. And he develops his knight with a counter attack on our pawn, the Petroff or the Russian defense. You can play this any number of ways. I've played it different ways in different episodes, but this episode I'll go d4, showing you can do anything that affects any move that helps in the center. They're all playable, and he takes. Now you could take your pawn back, but that wasn't the intention of what I was doing. I really was just trying to develop quickly by throwing that in the center as a pawn sacrifice to develop my bishop, similar to the Scotch Gambit, but not the exact line, not the exact move order. And so he develops the bishop with check. And so it's natural for us to play c3 because we get the turn back. He takes, and although you could take with the knight, it's still natural to play c3, getting the turn back. Or maybe it's not natural, but it's effective. It gets the turn back. It does take away the square from your knight, but now it's your turn, as I said many, many times. Now his knight is hitting your pawn. When you can kick it, you should consider it. There's also castle. There's kick and castle. Kick is more forcing, so let's go with kick. Queen e7, I castle. Knight in here hits the pawn twice, but looks super suspicious. F7 point looks a little weak, although I don't think I can do anything. Maybe there's this. This hits this, and checkmate. If he takes with the knight, he gets mated. If he takes with the bishop, I get a free piece, and then he gets mated. If I go here and he just stops the mate, I can pick up a piece. If I go here and he castles, I pick up a piece. If I go here and he retreats the knight, I pick up a piece. And then he picks up my bishop. But I guess I can desperado the bishop and pick up a pawn. This looks suspicious. Is there any other move? Yeah, queen d5 is a common tactical motif in the Scotch Gambit and in a lot of the open games after 1e4. You know, Danish Gambit, center game, all that stuff. And here it just hits three different things, three different squares. So geometrically, I don't think he has the resources to cover three squares with one move like that. And so that's really the problem here. And that's the point of, let's say, the center game, or anytime you do what I did, you play d4 and just sack the pawn, it opens up the d line for the queen, and now there's much more tactical opportunity. There's also ideas like queen b3 in some lines. But here, queen d5 is stronger, threatening checkmate. And in as little as 8 moves, the game is over. And you may say, oh, well, would you play like this against 2000? And yeah, I would, because everything I did was solid and sound. My sacrifice, my pawn attack was, I know about the Scotch Gambit and how it resembled it, and I know it's a thing. So it's not like I was going for cheap tricks. And he castles, which hangs pieces. So which piece? I suppose the bishop is more annoying, and the knight's going to get hit by 1,000 other things anyway. Although this does walk into a tempo. Maybe I just can go back there. Could also just go here. If I take the knight, it kind of has weird alignment. I'm going to take the bishop. I want to take the bishop. That's my first instinct. My next instinct is to castle if I'm not attacked. If my queen's not attacked. And then once my king is safe, it should be just smooth sailing, easy win. I still have this superpower over here. And you can see the point of that pawn sack. in the beginning, look how none of these pieces moved, and his king's knight is in danger. It's not actually aggressively placed because it's not stable. And if a knight's not stable, it's kind of useless. So his knight's kind of useless here, and he can't go back to his best square. So if he has no development, he is castled. So his king is in some safety, and then everything else is just kind of useless. Meanwhile, I have a perfectly placed knight, super strong bishop, extremely active queen on his side of the board. And the difference between a queen on a5 and a4 is huge in the fact that I have a horizontal line of, but they're all his squares, and that's a huge number of squares. So he attacks the queen, but not the way I thought. And this looks like it hangs more material. So I think his idea was he wanted a fianchetto, protect the bishop, protect the knight, and do it all with tempo. But unless I'm missing something, this hangs more stuff. And he might resign here. And never be afraid to go back to where you came from. It doesn't matter if you do it 10 times in a row. If it's the best move, just do it. Same thing about retreating a piece back to its original square. If it's the best move, do it. And now he's like, oh shoot. But he didn't consider the drawback of his last move. If he did, he would see it weakens these two light squares and the diagonal as a whole. And that might have been like, oh wait, queen here. Or maybe he would have, yeah, I guess that would be what would come to his mind then. So he plays c6, protecting the rook, hanging the knight. He can try this fork, but there's en passant, but there's rook over. Either way, I'm up 2 pieces, so even if you give one back for some pawns, no big deal. Now he has no piece even on our side of the board. All of his pieces are on the back rank. You might be like, well, yours, a lot of yours are too. True, but this bishop already open, 2 beautiful diagonals. Plus, I'm up a piece, so I can do what I want. I have an excuse. What's his excuse for the back rank? That he's down a piece? That doesn't make sense. So he goes for the fork, which is a nice find from him. And if I do en passant and he goes here, does that lose a queen? Well, not necessarily. I could cover with the knight. He can't even play f6 because it's pinned. And if he just attacks my knight a second time, I throw in check and take the rook. And there's always f4. I think I'm going to try it. I mean, if I have to give the one of the 2 pieces I'm up back anyway, it might as well be this knight and not the bishop. You could have just taken some pawns with the bishop or even just moved the queen. Both would have been completely winning, but I kind of want to go here. And he can't play f6. And even if he could, he's just winning one of the 2 pieces, so you're still winning. So that would be acceptable, but he can't even. And now they coordinate. And that looks problematic. And now I can castle. This is undefended. Maybe swing the bishop back. Let's get this guy in the game somehow. Actually, bishop g5. It's undefended square. But if we can defend it, he can't play f6. He has to move the queen. His queen's trapped. Interesting. His queen would be trapped, except his pawn would be hanging. But none of that matters because there's tactics right now. And how does he address this? Bishop e6. Take. King over. So that this doesn't come with check. Interesting response from a 1200. Do we get our king out of the way? Oh, I see. He wants to play f6. So I guess he will get the piece back. Something's suspicious about this though. It looks wrong. Why is this so wrong? If I take this pawn and he takes my knight with check, and I develop a bishop, how does he stop checkmate? Knight out, check, king here. Oh no, king here. Wait, what? How did he stop checkmate? Here, here, here. Moving the g pawn or checkmate. F pawn, checkmate. Rook anywhere but sacking itself, checkmate. Any queen move, checkmate. Oh, I see. He can take this pawn and then check, and then here. His bishop's hanging in the back. His king's in the middle. I can take more stuff. And that would just be giving back one piece that he's probably going to win anyway. So queen h7 is playable. If I just castle, he's going to go f6, going for the piece. And then there I can do it. Yeah, so let's do that version because our king is safe, and in that version he wasted a move on f6, which means he doesn't have the tempo he needs to play both knight capture and queen d6. Whereas if I take the pawn first, his two moves will be knight takes and queen takes, but here his two moves have to be f6 and something. Take the knight, right? So he doesn't get in queen d6, meaning mate's on the board. Hopefully you kind of followed what I was just saying there. In any case, your king is safer and all your threats remain. So that's a simple way to look at it without calculation. But yeah, this king f8 move looks very suspicious. It looks still completely losing, of course, no matter what he did. I wouldn't be surprised if there was an even better move than castling to take advantage. Oftentimes you do have lots of good moves. Some of them are forcing. I mean, he went king f8. The whole idea was to unpin so that he can play f6. So not playing f6 is crazy. He proposes a take back. I'm going to give it to him. He puts his knight there, undefending this pawn. Attacking our knight, but not with the pawn. So you can defend it like this. At some point he has to play f6. He writes thanks for the take back. But if I'm going to lose my knight anyway, my whole point was to take this pawn. And regardless of how he captures, that would be mate. And if his idea is queen takes knight f6, giving some type of whatever, my knight won't be hanging anymore, so... So let's do it. He has to kind of find knight f6, I feel like. Does that even save him though? Knight g6 check, forces pawn takes. Check, forces knight back. That's checkmate. Knight g6, checkmate. Wow, that's a really good tactical find. I'm glad I didn't stop looking, because I was initially just going to go here, check, force the knight back, and then obviously his knight's pinned. My knight can escape, or I can play f4, bishop f4, pawn takes, I mean knight takes pawn. Like, you know, I knew it was obviously super good for me, but checkmate is checkmate. So how does he have any resource? I don't think so. And he just resigns. Nice. 15 moves, we got him. He offered me a rematch. No, thank you, sir. But I do want to look at that game. It was a really cool game. Okay, so we just developed the knight towards the center, and we have a 94%, 14 center pawn. The center pawn accuracy thing is so weird. Like here it's 94 and 14, but I think the last game was 97%, but I had 33 center pawn. You know, I lost more on average. So what does that mean, a less accurate game? I don't know how that works, but anyway, we attack the pawn and develop, trying to go into Ruy Lopez. He goes into the Petroff. You can take the pawn, you can develop the knight, you can go d3, although I don't see why you would. But then there's d4. Two most popular moves in the database are knight takes pawn and d4. So I don't really know anything about this opening, but d4, opens up my bishops and attacks the center. Can't be bad. He takes. Ah, you're supposed to play the immediate e5. I didn't even consider it. Yeah, because he doesn't even have d5 to hit your bishop in response. Whoops. So yeah, a little lazy, a little sloppy on my part, just going fast and developing the bishop, but it's a completely normal line, what I'm doing too. But yeah, I mean, if you can throw an e5 first, do it first. Here, this check, center, force move, and for free. This is still, this is part of the Urusov Gambit, it says. Bishop's opening Urusov Gambit. So has transposed into a line in the bishop's opening. A line that I don't play, even though, like when I play the bishop's opening, I don't go down this line. So he takes, we take, forced, and for free. This is a blunder. Why? Because of e5, which is what we did. And then this loses to queen d5. But okay, so let's say he goes back here and I play e5. d5 here. And they say it's even. But if he goes back here and d5, now we have the added resource of queen a4 check. Cool. That's kind of good to remember if you can. But in any case, he goes here and we still play the best move, forcing move, attacking the knight. We talk about this always. He jumps to a square that I knew looks wrong. He had to immediately counter strike with d5, attacking our bishop, in which case it looks something like this. He hits your bishop. Oh yeah, it kind of ruins the line because you have this free intermezzo. But normally if the bishop, let's say, was here, you can take the knight, he can take the bishop, and then you can take the pawn. He can trade queens, and it's a lot of trades. Pretty even, which is why they say it's playable for black if he didn't hang this. But during this line, if we go here, he plays something like c3, trying to defend the bishop, while keeping everything. We still take this guy, he takes this guy, we take this guy, he goes over. And you'd rather be white here. The difference is he didn't get in the queen trade like he would have otherwise when the bishop was over here. Because he had to waste time doing this and you got to move to the side for free. So now you get to castle instead of losing your castling rights. So it's better for white. Interesting. But he went here and I took my time and I found the best move. Castling is plus 0.2, but queen d5 is plus 3.8. It's almost twice as good, almost twice as strong. So you don't want to just make the most natural, normal moves. You want to find the best, good-looking forcing moves in open positions. So this just looked winning, and it is. And does it matter what you take? They're essentially the same, so you get to choose. I chose the bishop. And this looks even more losing because of tactics and force moves. Free stuff. Now what's the best move? Here we wonder. Okay. Either move your queen or en passant. So if you were to just take, it's not as good as moving your queen because he gets the central pawn and you have to move your queen anyway. And you spent your turn, whereas if you just move the queen, he has to spend his turn and you go again. But aside from those, the best move is en passant, which we did. And when he goes rook e8, which he did, there's also this weird move. Oh no, that doesn't even work. Never mind. Wait, you can bishop f7 here this early? I was considering that, but what's the follow-up? Knight here anyway, but is pinned. So why do you do that? Yeah, I don't like that. So the best move is knight e5, which we played. And I thought maybe bishop e6 to relieve this pressure. But but then he did king f8, which I knew isn't a move. It looks wrong. And I was considering taking this pawn immediately or castling. I didn't even look at this move, which is interesting because of the alignment. Should have noticed it just to at least look at the x-ray possibilities, but um, it's funny because castle and queen takes h7 were the two I was looking at. They're both close, but castling is, point plus point 0.8, whereas taking the pawn is plus point 0.7. And I said I felt a little safer if I just castled first. It seemed like the lines worked out for me better because he couldn't take this pawn yet. Then he blunders and it's mate in 4. Okay, so this is unstoppable. I had a feeling. What's his best try though? Knight here, but then knight g6. Oh, it's mate in 3 with knight g6 and queen h8. Oh, because I guess you could just do the reverse knight g6 after, right? So here, here, yeah, then knight g6 takes, and you still get the coordination. Yeah, so it's forced in either move order because it's both check. So I found the cooler one first, cooler move order, but either way, this is what would have happened. This was the whole plan, and it's all thanks to this wonderful pawn, en passant, in his position, removing the escape square. So hopefully you enjoyed that game, as I did. Good luck in your chess, and goodbye.